Welcome everyone. So this is day one and here we'll be learning the basic techniques of watercolors. What you need is a small paper. This should be 100% cotton 300 GSM watercolor paper. Okay. So let me start. First thing I said you need watercolor paints in tubes like this. I'll show you how you need to use this in your palette. Okay. You can take a particular tube. So I already have some colors. I will show you how you can squeeze, how much you should squeeze. This is a crimson lake color. So just open this and what you need, a very small squeeze. Okay, just listen, just watch it carefully how much I am squeezing it. Very little. This is more than sufficient. Okay, so how are you going to use the small squeeze of paint in your watercolor paper? You need to take a brush. Keep a tissue paper with you handy. Okay. Okay, I'm going to have the tissue paper ready. So it should be nearby. Okay. So a small squeeze of paint, I'm dropping in 2 to 3 drops of water and mixing it well. Okay. Can you see this kind of a milky consistency? Not too much of water, but water should be present. Okay. I'll show you how it is made. So this is going to be the paper surface and I'm going to paint it. Can you see a really a dark pigment? Okay, when I need to lighten this pigment, what I should do? See, a small amount of paint and add water to it. Add a lot of water. Add water. Even then, the color is going to be there. I'll just give you, see, can you see a really nice pink? But this is light when compared to this. You need to know the different consistencies of paint. Okay. And when I add again lot of water, it's going to become very light. Right. Then again when I add water to it, can you see? Even this is also used in painting. Very light layer of paint. Okay, so this is what we call as pigment. Here the pigment, watercolor pigment is high when compared to water. Here you have equal amount. Okay, here the pigment is very less and the water is more, and once when this gets dried up, it will create a really light shade of color, pink color. Right? So the same thing you can repeat it in your watercolor paper also with the color that you like. So each and every color, it have its own value. So this is what we call it as values. Okay. In watercolor, you don't add white color to the pigments. Though you have white color, it is very less used. Okay, by adding water, you can dilute the water pigment. Okay, now let's move on to the very fundamental concept of watercolor, that is called wet on wet. And this is one technique, and the next is wet on dry. So let's explore what is wet on wet and what is wet on dry. Okay, wet on wet means this is going to be, till now we were just directly painting on the paper. Here what it means wet on wet is I'm just wetting the paper. So this paper is going to be wet. Okay, can you see the water? So on top of this wet area, I'm going to add in the paint pigment. here what I mentioned by paint pigment is the paint from the tube and little bit of water. This is called, I call as paint pigment. Okay, I drop in the paint pigments. Okay, so what is creating? It's creating a blurred effect, right? It's creating a blurred effect. So as long as it is wet, I can keep on adding any colors that I need. It will merge so beautifully. Okay, so this is wet on wet with a single color. Okay, so I can do the same thing with a two colors also. Say for example, I am wetting the area. I'm wetting down the area. Okay, I am dropping in one color here. Okay, then I am dropping in the other color. Say for example, I have another color. This is, see, these are the paint squeeze of paints that I have used yesterday. So you can again use the same thing. Even if it is dried in watercolors, if you put water, you can reactivate it and you can mix it. Okay, I am dropping in here. Can you see how the blending happens? So this is a natural blending. This is wet on wet technique. Here I can see the yellow color, green and mix of light green color also. This is there in wet on wet. There is a color mixing that happens automatically while the surface is wet. Okay, so the same thing I can do it for with different colors based on the colors that I need. This is wet on wet technique. Okay, next we'll move. Here I can see there are no crisp borders here. Wet on dry is a technique where you will need to have a very no, the surface need not be wet. I'll just take this paint pigment in whatever consistency, either light or thick, anything I can take it and paint it, right? So if I paint it like this, you can observe the boundaries of this is crisp. Here it is blurred, right? You see the blurred thing, here also blurry effect. This is called wet on wet because the paper is wet. Here I don't have the paper that is wet, it is dry. I am getting this crisp borders. Okay, you can draw any shapes as per your wish. You can draw a petal, you can draw a leaf, anything that you need with this wet on wet and wet on dry. Okay, based on the requirement that you need, you can go with either wet on wet, wet on dry. Okay, now what I would recommend you is you need to start practicing the basic strokes so that you will get a good understanding on how the paint behaves on water. Okay, for that I'll show you some basic things. Wet on dry, again you need to do anything is you do on dry paper is wet on dry. Try making dots. This is called pointillism. Try making circular dots with your brush. Okay, try making dots. This is called pointillism. Okay, then try to do this activity like with very less pressure. So how do you load the brush? Okay, that I just wanted to show you. Here you can see the paint and little bit of water. If I add a lot of water, it's going to become like this. Yes, fully loaded. When I draw anything with this, it is not going. It is going to have a lot of pigments. So if I load this brush with a lot of paint pigment here, I just try to draw some hatching thing. See, like this, you can see it is not coming as very thin. It is going so broad. So what I should do, I need to take off the excess paint pigment. So what I do, just this is the belly of the brush. Okay, this is the belly of the brush. This is the tip of the brush. So from the belly of the brush, take out the excess pigments. Okay, take out the excess pigments. Then you try to do this. It's thin compared to this. It is thin, right? Okay. Practice the strokes. Light feathery touch like this. This is called hatching. Okay, when I do this, then this it is going to be called cross hatching. These are very small practice exercises that you need to do. Okay, this is hatching, this is cross hatching. So based on the paint that you take in the brush, all these differs. Okay, and one more important exercise is you need to draw lines, vertical, horizontal lines. I will show you. Okay, what I will do, I will take a round brush. Okay, round brush I will take. Are you able to see this? Okay, so I will go with this color, bright red color. Okay, so what I am doing, I'm just see how I am just. You need to take off the excess amount of water in the brush. So how you will do? Just whip it like this. Okay, you do this. This is very gentle action where you are just taking off the excess paint. Okay, so now what you do, you just try to do very thin lines, horizontal and vertical. Let me show you the horizontal, like almost not vert, very perpendicular but slightly perpendicular. Okay, try to draw a very thin line. Only tip of the brush should touch the paper. Okay, one more I'll draw. As you practice this, okay, so very important, while you paint this very thin lines, you should get from even from a larger brush also. Okay, so this is what the horizontal lines, you practice this, and the vertical lines also. When you are trying to draw something which is very thin like this, you need to take off the excess paint from the brush into the palette like this, and then only you need to start to paint. Otherwise you will not get the very thin lines. Okay, this is vertical. Okay, without any shade you try to do the vertical lines also. Okay, this is very important. Next we will move on to curvy lines. Horizontal, vertical makes us curvy lines. This is the same procedure, but you need to draw some curves. Okay, see how I am changing the angle of the brush like this. When I apply higher pressure, see, when I use the tip of the brush, it is light, and again when I use this little of belly, this belly region, it is going to be somewhat thicker. See, This is the same brush, but I'm using this side, belly of the brush, so that the strokes are thick. Okay. Same way, I can use the same brush in drawing a very thick lines like this. Okay. Once you practice this very well, you'll get to know how you can hold your brush. Okay. So far we have gone through horizontal, vertical, and curvy lines. So let me name it. So this is with tip of the brush, and this is with belly of the brush, right? The same as for horizontal strokes also. Vertical strokes also can do the same procedure. Now we will move on to a concept that is called as layering. Okay. So why layering is important here is, say for example, you need to paint one leaf. Okay, so what you will do, you'll I will show you the example. So this is a sap green color I have. I'm just mixing it with water. Okay. So say for example, I'm just painting a very simple leaf like this. Okay. This is one layer of paint. Okay. I'm drawing another leaf there. Just the same shape, I'm just drawing it. Okay. And now I'm washing the brush. I'm not completely painting this with the color. Now the brush is damp. Okay, so I'm taking off the excess water. Just I'm doing this. Now this leaf is light when compared to this leaf, right? What layering is, on top of this one particular layer of paint that you have painted, I'm again going to paint another layer of color. Okay, I'll show you how. In layering, what you do, you need to draw the other layer only when this is dried, completely dried. Okay. There are techniques that you can do with wet on wet while it is still wet. That comes under wet on wet technique. Okay. Now I am letting this completely dry, and then only next layer I am just doing. For your better understanding, I am just adding yellow color also. You can practice this with any colors that you have. In the next step, we'll learn about the color mixing. Okay, there you'll get to understand your colors very well. Okay, I'm just waiting for this to dry. Now this has dried up completely. It takes a minute or two to get dried based on the amount of water you have applied, or you can use your hair dryer also to dry this. Okay, now what I'm doing, I'm adding the next layer. See, this doesn't look realistic. What I'm doing, you need to add in the extra layer of paint. Say for example, with this yellow, I'm adding other layer of green. Okay, this looks so vibrant compared to the this one when it dries. And one more thing, in watercolors, actually, when they dry up, they become very light. So how you can overcome that? By applying multiple layers of paint. See, while I'm adding this, I can just add the green color only in this portion, and the top region I'll let it be yellow itself. So how should I do that? I need to take off this green from here. How do you lift off? just take the brush bit. Okay, this you call as thirsty brush. I don't have any pigment in the brush. I'm just pushing the paint pigment this side. By this way, I'll get very light color of green in this area. Okay, so here it is a 2 layer of paint. Even here I can add still more a darker green here. So it is adding up of the layers. Can you see this has improved a lot when compared to the previous one? Yes. The same way this also. This is so flat. Now what I am doing, I can add in colors of my choice to make it more. This is wet water. I'm just first wetting it down, and on top of it I'm just adding. You can see how the color spreads. So this is another method. Here, what shall I do? You can add any colors. See, with green, you can add blue to make it still more dark. Okay, so this is cobalt blue color that I have. Let me show you how. Very little bit of blue. Okay. See, while you take off the paint, you don't directly take this paint and apply it here. That is not the way we handle with watercolors. You add at least 1 or 2 drops of water and then you apply. Okay. This is another layer. Okay. I'm letting it down and I'm taking a very clean brush and merging it. Okay. So this is a concept called layering where you add multiple. Again, in top of this, once it is dried, I can add still more layers to make it more vibrant. Okay. This is how you get to know about the vibrancy. Okay. So next we'll move on to a concept called color mixing. We'll do a simple color mixing and know about the colors today. Now what I want you to do is a small section. Okay, so let me draw a circle. Okay, divide the circle into 12 equal parts. Okay. Divide into 4 quadrants, and within each quadrant just mark 2 points, the center. Then connect it this way. Okay, now you need to mark in. So how the concept of color mixing works is with 3 primary colors we are going to mix remaining every of the colors. So right now I am taking yellow, red and blue. These 3 are the primary colors. So let me put it here. Yellow, here you'll have blue and here you'll have red. See to that you have 3 in between: red, yellow and blue. Okay, so these 3 are the primary colors you can mention. Okay, let me do a small swatch of these colors here. How you need to do is take up your brush, okay, whatever brush you have. Okay, you can fill the areas with blue, here yellow and red. Okay, you can just paint it over blue. Color mixing is full of experimentation. Okay, so based on the blue, inside blue itself you will have what is called as warm blue, cool blue. That is an advanced concept. Today's class we'll learn about the basic color mixing. Okay, so yellow itself, actually these two are also yellow. Whatever you have in your Camel brand, this is a lemon yellow. This is also an yellow, but this is towards the orange side. This is towards the green side. This is called cool. This is called warm yellow. Okay, we will be using lemon yellow here. Very most important, you need to clean your brush very well before you take up the light colors like lemon yellow and red and all. Okay, because the colors will lose its vibrancy and you mix it with the other colors. Okay, the lemon yellow. The next is red. Red I'm using this one, Scarlet Lake. Okay, now we'll do the color mixing part. Once if you add red and yellow, what is the color that you get? It is actually orange, right? That is a secondary color. Okay, when you mix yellow and blue, it is going to be green. That is a secondary color. Then red and blue, what is that? You will get violet color. That is also a secondary color. So add up equal parts. So secondary is adding up equal parts of yellow and red. So let me show you how. A small amount of red, okay, small amount, can you see, small amount of red, and you need to add in equal parts of yellow here. So here you will get orange color. You can paint this orange color here. Do you think this is dull? Yes, it's dull because the yellow is towards a greener side, that is cooler side. That's why we are getting some duller orange, but anyhow it's an orange color. Okay, here if I add more, see here this is secondary color. Okay, now before going on to the tertiary colors that are placed here, we'll complete the other secondary colors and move on to the tertiary. Okay, now you clean your brush very well. Okay, see, while mixing I got some tinge of orange here, so I'll take off this. Okay, now I'm mixing yellow and blue, so take a little bit of yellow here and blue. Can you see what you're getting? You're getting a nice green color. Okay. I'm getting a very nice color, green color here. Now we'll move on to this color. Just we'll mix red and blue and see what color you get. Little bit of blue and equal parts of red. Okay, so I'm adding it. If you find it is too brownish, you can add blue to it. So brown, or you can see it is more of a brown. So add little bit of blue over there so that you get a nice violet color. Okay, don't worry if you're not getting that bright purple violet. That's because of the red we have used here. So instead of red, if you have used pink color, then your purple or violet would be really good. Okay, so don't worry about the shades that you get. That's because of the primary color that we have chosen here. Now we have completed the secondary colors and we'll move on to the tertiary colors. So what is the tertiary colors? So between the red and yellow, you have two tertiary colors. So near the red there is a tertiary color and near the orange also. So how we'll mix? We'll mix one to be the highest ratio and other to be the lowest ratio. For example, the tertiary near the red will have two parts red and one part of yellow. Okay, so two parts red, I'm writing it down for your easy understanding. Two parts red and one part is what? Yellow. So let's mix and see how the color comes out. I'm adding more of red and very little portion of yellow. I'm getting that nice orange shade, that is a dark orange towards the red shade. Okay, okay, you can paint that down in that area. Once that is complete, we'll move on to the tertiary that is near the yellow. So what is that? It will have more of red, more of yellow and little part of red. So let's mix and see. I'm going to get a really nice color that is equivalent to gamboge hue in your camel set. Okay, that is really a nice vibrant color. Can be used for sunsets, florals and all those. Next, this is the gamboge hue color that I got. By mixing, I have got that color. Okay. Next, we'll move on to the next set. One part of the color wheel is complete. The next set is blue and yellow. Let's mix first tertiary near the blue. What I will do, I will mix more of blue and little bit of yellow. Okay, more of a blue and little bit of yellow. You'll get, of course, you'll get a green shade, but it is more of a blue. See the color? It can be used for mountains, trees, and all those. I really like the way the tertiary color comes out. See? Yes? Okay. Wash your brush thoroughly and we'll move on to the next part. Here we'll add more of yellow and little bit of blue. Let's see how this color turns out. So you can see a really nice vibrant green. Yes. That's because I've added more of yellow color and very little bit of blue. Okay. Now we have completed this part. We'll move on to the next. That's red and blue. Let me clean the palette that's there. Okay, so I don't want any other colors to interfere in between the red and blue. Okay, I'm squeezing in the blue color that's over in the palette. Now let's do this. Near the blue, the tertiary is going to be more of blue and little bit of red. Mix that well. Okay. Can you see that blue is almost blue, but it is going to be on the warmer side since we have added red. You can see how the color turned out. It can be used for mountains. Yes, this is also almost blue. Yes. The next tertiary is between the red and violet. When you mix, it is going to be like more of a brownish shade. Now we have come to the end of the color wheel. Okay, so now we'll try to mix browns. Okay, so with these three primary colors we can create n number of opportunities. So let me show you how. Okay, now in this color wheel, if you could see, the complementary colors are those that are lying exactly opposite in the color wheel. Okay, red and green, those are opposite in the color wheel. That means they are complementary colors. Okay, so I'll show you by mixing and we'll get different kinds of browns. Okay, in addition to red and green as your complementary colors in the color wheel, similar way orange and blue, yellow and violet, these are all opposite. So when you mix these two colors, what happens? You'll get brown color or brownish shade or blackish shade colors. Okay, to get that black color, you need to mix all of these primary colors and see the variation how it turns out. Okay, for that purpose I'm taking blue, yellow and red. Mix it well so that you get that brown shade, right? Black or brown shade. You can practice the same thing in different ratios and see. Okay, one by varying, you can add a lot of blue with little bit of yellow and all those. So nearby you can just mention that is red, yellow and blue. That is what I'm mentioning it near the color that I have created, so that at a later point of time I can understand that this is the color that I obtain with these three primary colors. Okay, now I'm adding more of blue and yellow also. I'm introducing it. Can you see the color variations? When you don't see the color variations, you will definitely of course see the variations because of the colors that you are using. Okay. Each and every time you mix the colors, the ratio differs and you get a new color. Okay. That is when the painting becomes so like natural, not by just using the paint directly from the palette. Okay. One more variation that I'm showing you. Wait, I'll just mix it. Okay, this is going to be when it is wet, it is going to be more of brown shade, but when it dries out, it will turn like an olive green kind of shade because I've added more of yellow. Okay. Yes, can you see? When it dries up, it becomes more of an olive green shade. Okay. So what I want you to do is you experiment different browns, blacks, and all those, and create a similar kind of patterns and color mixing. You just click a photograph of this and submit this assignment in the WhatsApp group so that I will know. And tomorrow let's start with a new floral painting. Okay. Till then, take care and see you tomorrow. Bye.